tail of the tape for this 155-pound matchup brought to you by Zenergy, the great tasting premium energy drink. 30-year-old Fortaleza Brazil's Jorge Gurgel against 25-year-old Fortaleza Brazil's Diego Saraiva. Saraiva is shorter but has a 2-inch reach advantage.
And when the action begins, our referee in charge of the octagon is Eve Loving.
Eve Loving, our referee, the beautiful Ariani, signifies that we are set to begin. Allie here tonight with us at the ARCO Arena in Sacramento. Fight! Saraiva against Gurgel. Gurgel quickly takes the center of the octagon. Gurgel is not a man who avoids a confrontation on the feet. We have seen that more than once.
He's so excited that he's injury-free for the first time. I mean, he couldn't stop talking about it.
Waited so long, not only to be in the UFC, to compete at 155 pounds, but to finally do it, as Joe pointed out, without injury. And he showed good hands against Mark Hominick.
Yeah, he showed very good striking skills, good movement. Everything was good about that fight.
In fact, a lot of people, Joe, always talk about Gurgel has such impressive ground skills, but oftentimes he does love to stand and exchange.
His stand-up has improved markedly over the last couple of years.
Keeping a big pace,
avoiding that clinch and landing some good punches.
Saraiva trying to stay relaxed. You can really see the excitement being displayed here by Jorge Gurgel. Is there a danger of coming out too jacked up?
Well, it's possible that he's so excited that he's injury-free that he can come out and just go crazy, but he's in such phenomenal shape. I mean, he's one of the best conditioned fighters in all of MMA, and I don't think that's going to be a problem at all.
Gurgel looking to pump forward with the left, follows with the right, combinations again. Quick hands by Jorge Gurgel.
Relentless.
Saraiva seems to be unfazed thus far.
Good left hook by George.
Works hands with Neil Rowe with his Muay Thai boxing with Rob Radford, as you said, the same camp that helped produce former middleweight champion Rich Franklin.
And George has always been Rich's jiu-jitsu coach.
Yep. Main training partner when it comes to diet and everything. Gurgel is engaged. Trying to come over the top.
George is swinging wild with these punches.
He's looking for the highlight finish, undoubtedly.
Well, I think he's been so frustrated in the fact that every time we've seen him in the UFC, basically he's been injured. He eats a leg kick right there. He wants to really show everybody. He's a proud man. He wants to show everybody, what kind of phenomenal skills he really does possess. He was very highly touted before he entered into the UFC.
Absolutely. One of the early favorites to win the Ultimate Fighter 2 competition.
I remember hearing about George years and years ago, way before then. Saraiva pulls guard.
George first came to the United States at age 17. Father, a chemical engineer, mother, very well educated, has 2 degrees. George, a very intelligent young man, an outstanding fighter. But jiu-jitsu and fighting is his life. He's up to 13 Brazilian jiu-jitsu schools. Most centered in the Buckeye State around his home in Cincinnati, Ohio.
That's incredible.
Yep.
13 schools.
All across the U.S. and Canada. Closed guard being utilized by Saraiva. Both men outstanding jiu-jitsu practitioners who trained with different camps in Fortaleza.
I'm surprised that George hasn't tried to pass yet.
Under 90 seconds remains in round 1.
He seems content to stay inside Saraiva's guard and just land some punches. Saraiva's trying to spin around for an armbar, and George wants no part of that. Makes him eat punches.
George postures up, throws down. And again, connects with a right. Gurgel's pace here in the first round has been relentless.
Yes, it has, Mike, but I'm really surprised he hasn't tried to improve his position. That he's just decided to throw punches from the top in the guard.
Almost caught an up kick there, Joe.
Under a minute.
I mean, his strategy might just be to soften Saraiva up with these punches, punch him as often as he can early on, and then maybe work for it later.
There's a warning on the kick.
The warning is, Mike, because he has his knees on the ground.
Yes.
If he's standing up, if Jorge is standing up, then Saraiva can hit him with the up kick. But as long as he has his knees on the ground, he can't. Saraiva tried a triangle attempt right there, throw his legs over the top.
Jorge says, let's go on the feet again. Final seconds of round 1.
Right hand by Jorge, rather.
Jorge got caught a couple of times
Saraiva lands a couple shots there.
Saraiva connected not once but twice right there at the end of the round.
Getting a little flat sometimes. Double and triple up your jabs. Quit leading with the cross. We talked about that in practice, remember? Keep your elbow low. Keep your elbow low.
No to the sides. Get what you need. This goes out.
Okay.
Your hands are blindly fat.
Here you go, Rob. You're doing good. You know, remember what we talked about in practice about you standing in front of him in his range where you're relaxed? You're doing that occasionally. Keep your jab moving or disengage. Screw the crowd. You won that round easily. You controlled the stand-up, controlled the footwork, landed more combinations. You took him down. You look great. You're listening. You're doing well. Watch the triangle when you're on the ground and stuff like that. About to go up.
Seconds out.
The corner of Saraiva. Maybe the most interesting thing Rich Franklin said was, forget about the crowd. Just fight your fight. And you know that Jorge Gurgel wants to be exciting, but he can't put himself at risk by being overly exciting.
Yeah, he wants to be exciting, but he certainly doesn't want to lose because he took an unnecessary risk. But you know what? Being exciting is a big part of what makes a fight
and I totally agree. And I also understand what Rich is saying, though. You know, don't push it to the point where you put yourself at risk of getting knocked out. Saraiva's caught him on the last couple of exchanges.
Yeah, what I'm really shocked is that Franklin didn't want him to pass the guard when he was in that position. Just content to land those punches that were basically ineffective. He's doing a much better job of being effective on his feet. And he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, so that's kind of odd.
Good leg kicks by Gurgel. But so far, young Diego Saraiva seems pretty unfazed by what seems like an off-balance fight dominated by Gurgel.
Well, Gurgel is definitely landing more strikes, and he's definitely controlling the stand-up aspect of the fight. But Diego Saraiva is not out of the fight. He's not being completely overwhelmed here. His game is certainly much better adept to being on the ground.
Saraiva just 5'6", Gurgel 5'9". We saw the reach was actually not really that different in this matchup of 155-pounders, but Gurgel's a big 55.
Couple good punches there and a good leg kick by Gurgel.
Saraiva starting to try to cut off the octagon.
Saraiva pulled guard in the first round, and that wasn't effective. He's got to figure out another way to get this fight to the ground. He's clinching, but every time he clinches, he eats punches. There he goes. Now he shoots, but Jorge sprawls, turns him away. Very nice.
Saraiva has known Gurgel for 15 years. Of course, we talked about they both grew up in Fortaleza, Brazil. Hermes Franca from there, Marcus Aurelio, Thiago the Pitbull Alves. A lot of great fighters from Brazil and a lot of great fighters from the city of Fortaleza.
Diego has a strategy dilemma here. He's not winning the stand-up exchanges, and Jorge is getting more and more comfortable, landing more and more shots, and he's not able to take the fight to the ground.
Jorge
so he's
pressing
figure out
forward
what
again.
to do, or he's just going to see more of the same for the rest of the fight.
Gurgel was pressing forward when he captured the leg of Diego Saraiva.
The other problem with Diego Saraiva's stand-up is that he seems very predictable. And if Jorge can time him and figure out how he's reacting to all these exchanges, Jorge can throw some feints in there and land some real big shots.
We are past the midway point of the fight.
Right now, Jorge is content to get inside, and every time he gets close, he flurries. But a more experienced stand-up fighter could start feinting and landing some big shots. Diego Saraiva reacts very predictably every time Jorge initiates an exchange.
And you heard from the corner of George Gurgel, Rich Franklin's voice in the background. Don't let him dictate.
See, this is what George does. Every time Diego comes in, George either parries or he throws a bunch of punches in a row. Bang, 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 just there. Good head kick right there.
Swinging right
he
here,
got hit with the right hand. George got hurt there. He got hurt.
Gurgel got rocked. Now they continue to exchange. Saraiva got again.
George got hurt.
Gurgel has been hit more than once.
George initiates the clinch there.
A big flurry by Diego Saraiva.
I think that was a mistake by Saraiva.
What a great exchange.
I think he had George hurt.
No question about it. On more than one occasion.
Yeah, I think he hit him with 2 really good shots standing up. And that's the problem with that, getting close and just throwing punches. Bang, 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 bang. You know, it's not the most intelligent strategy, especially for a very bright guy.
Well, if anybody timed what may have become predictability, it was Saraiva who survived and predicted the predictability.
Sweep, very nice sweep right there. Diego Saraiva, big mouse over the right eye.
Yep, and under the left eye. Saraiva has connected with Gurgel here in round 2. 30 seconds remains in the round. Now with the knees.
Saraiva seems very confident now. You can feel the tide turning.
Gurgel on wobbly legs.
Check that leg kick, but he ate a left hook. And he ate another one.
Again. 10 seconds remains in the round.
You can feel Diego Saraiva's confidence growing, and George is turning it on.
We are headed to round number 3. What a battle!
George Gurgel took some punishment in that round. That was a very bad round for him. Let's look at some of those shots he got hit with. And this is from standing right in front of the guy throwing punches. Bang, that right hand right there, that one hurt him. And the left hook afterwards as well, and another right hand. And then another right hand. And there you see his legs giving out. George took some punishment in that round.
Hey, keep the jab moving. Do not let him dictate the round. And when he hits you, do not brawl with him. Use your strength, push him against the cage. I don't give a shit, but do not stand there and trade. We talked about this, we worked on this stuff, all right? Yeah. Cross, keep your cross tight and quit leading with it. Double and triple up the jab, give him things to think about. When you're in range, don't stand there, okay? Can you hear me?
Keep the head moving, keep the head moving, baby.
That's something that concerns me. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
What that
Are you
means
listening?
to me is that he's looking in his eyes, and George looks a little out of it.
And he did.
You ready, sir? You ready? 3rd round, fight!
A little anxious and a little concerned.
He eats a jab.
This is a very close fight after 2 rounds.
It is very close. I gave that 2nd round to Diego Saraiva based on damage.
So the bragging rights of Fortaleza, but more importantly, a win here in the UFC may very well be dependent on who can win round 3.
And again, they say he's charging straight in. He's throwing flurries of punches, but he stays in the same position. He's not offering any movement.
And it was Saraiva who all of a sudden was able to dictate that continuous movement by Gurgel and then come back with a good counter.
And you know what? Saraiva's not moving very much himself, but he's able to land these shots when George comes in and exchanges. You see how he's looking for that left hook? He threw it again. I mean, he's making it very obvious what he wants to do. But I think George is taking some shots, and he's just a little apprehensive now. Oh, nice leg kick.
See if Gurgel goes back to the leg kick.
See if he switches it up a little bit. I mean, he's such a bright guy. It's always kind of disconcerting to see a really intelligent guy have a dumb strategy.
That has been a criticism of George Gurgel in the past, that he does have a tendency to abandon a strategy and slug. That's what Rich Franklin talked about.
Yeah.
Don't get into that mindset.
There he is, doing it right there.
But we saw it did almost catch him. It almost cost him the fight in round number 2, and it may have cost him the round.
The real problem, Mike, is that he is a very good stand-up fighter, but his background is primarily in jiu-jitsu. So this is all, over the last few years, fairly new to him. And you know what? If you see a real good striker as opposed to a guy who's just, you know, a very skilled, athletic guy who's learning how to strike, real good strikers do very subtle things different. They move around more, they offer angles more, they don't stand in front and flurry, they move, they make themselves more elusive. And George is not really doing that. And Diego shoots for a takedown. George stuffs it. Good job by George. Diego's trying to elevate it with butterflies.
George had some good ground and pound in round number 1. This fight has mostly been contested via the stand-up game.
You know what, though? Diego is in danger of losing this fight if this fight stays on the ground.
Absolutely.
George is on top, and George can land some good shots.
Scramble now, you got 2 minutes, scramble. Keep it moving, he'll gas in 30 seconds.
You hear George's corner screaming out, scramble now, you've got 2 minutes. He said if you keep it moving, he'll gas in 30 seconds. Saraiva keeps throwing up those legs for a triangle. It's going to be harder and harder for him to do that now that they're so slippery with sweat.
Well, Saraiva tried to time the up kicks before, but as Joe pointed out, if Gurgel has his knees on the ground, then he can't utilize that weapon. Under 2 minutes remains, third and final round.
I would really like to see George get out of this position and at least try to pass.
It would be surprising at this point to see Saraiva catch Gurgel in a submission because they're both such excellent Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners.
It's very hard to catch George Gurgel in a submission. I mean, he's very crafty, very experienced. And especially because Diego Saraiva is not trying to control his posture. He's just throwing these legs up in the air like that. I mean, and see how George's posture's up? And George's right eye is swelling very bad.
Oh, big time.
If I was in Saraiva's camps, I'd tell him, feet on the hips and push this guy off. Get him off you. Forget these crazy triangles from the bottom. And if I was in George's camp, I'd say pass the guard. Get to a better position and pound.
George is trying to stay busy enough here, Joe, so that Yves Levine doesn't stand this fight back up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's staying busy, but he's not doing any damage from this position. We've seen it over and over and over again. It's very hard to land legitimate shots from inside a guy's guard. Tito Ortiz is one of the best at that. He's one of the few guys that's very effective in that position. But most guys, you know, it's just too hard to land good shots.
Saraiva trying to transition to certain things, but nothing has been available to transition to.
Saraiva tries to stand up.
See if Gurgel says to stand again, yeah. 15 seconds remains in the fight.
George Gurgel's face is a mess.
10 seconds remains. Final seconds of this contest.
Another good left hook and a right hand by Saraiva.
And we will go to the judges' scorecards. What a battle for the friends from Fortaleza.
Feeling okay, George?
So the judges will score our fight. In your mind, did Gurgel capture round number 3?
Oh, man, you know, it's tough to say. It was a real close round, but he was on top, landing a lot of punches, and Saraiva was ineffective in his guard, so if I had to give it to anybody, I'd probably give it to George. And I could see George pulling out a very close decision.
Bruce Buffer has the judges' decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards for decision. All 3 judges score this contest 30-27, declaring the winner by unanimous decision, George J.G. Gurgel.
So the second round not even given to Diego Saraiva, and George Gurgel wins by unanimous decision.